I'm going to give you the exact protocol I followed to cure my depression and anxiety in less than 6 months. I went from being depressed and having anxious thoughts about everything all the time to actually being happy and fulfilled with life. And I'll show you how to do the same. My name is Lucas. I'm a psychology and philosophy student, and my goal with this YouTube channel is to help you improve your mental health through science-based habits and philosophy. This all goes back to summer 2022. This was the lowest point in my life. This was when I was the most depressed and the most anxious, to the point where I didn't even want to leave the bed and the house. I wanted to stay at home scrolling, watching porn, staying up late, and life wasn't enjoyable. Really, it was a really hard time. Everything felt black and white, basically, just numb. There was no joy in doing anything. And the first habit I did that started to improve this period of my life was going to the gym. I started on the 1st August 2022. This was my first day going to the gym. It was late at night, and it was the first day I could because I became 15 years old at the time. And I started going to the gym. I had no idea what I was doing. I got in there, I saw some machines, did some things. I started watching some YouTube videos about going to the gym. I literally went on Google and researched like pull exercise and push exercise. I just picked them randomly and picked what I had access at the gym because it was a really small gym, and I started doing them. It wasn't a science-based workout. It wasn't optimized. I was following some random dudes, and some random dude in my gym also was giving me advice. Now I know it's bullshit. It was like, you should rest more than 15 seconds after each set. So I was like doing a set, 15 seconds rest, doing another set, which was basically just dumb as fuck. And I was having like 1 to 2 hours of working out. But the thing is, I wasn't even going close to failure. I had this idea of like, okay, I need to get to failure to grow muscle, right? So if you don't know really about this hypertrophy, going to the gym thing, so basically you need to push hard. You need to bring your muscle close to failure for it to grow. And at that time, I didn't really know what it meant, right? Because I started going to the gym without spending 5,000 hours doing research. So I just went there and I was like, okay, I'm going to do 3 sets. The first set, I stopped at like 14 reps. The second set, I stopped at 14 reps as well. Then the third set, I would go to failure in. Then I would get to like 17 sets. Now, okay, what's the logical thing to do on the next workout? Do all the 3 sets to 16, 17 reps, right? But I didn't do that. I took basically the average of the 3 sets, and this is what I would do. Just doesn't make any sense. I wasn't training nearly close to failure. And this is why I could do basically so much volume, so like 2-hour fucking workouts. But I was feeling really good. And this was the first thing I had going for me in my life. And this is the first thing that allowed me to see progress, right? So you've heard me talk a lot about progress, because I truly believe progress is the most important thing to improve your mental health. As humans, we need to progress. Things need to become better, to change, and not stagnate. And the gym allowed me to see progress in my life. Whereas before, during the COVID lockdown, and during my childhood, everything was stagnated or even going down sometimes. And this was the first thing I had going, where my actions were bringing me results. The work I did now made future me happier. And this is so powerful. Progress is so powerful to improve mental health. Being able to be proud and grateful of your past self. So going to the gym was the first thing I did to improve my mental health. And after I started going to the gym, I started to go down the gym rabbit hole. I was consuming so much content about it. I was really, really like almost addicted to this. And then I started to optimize other things to make more gains at the gym. Because I wanted to make some muscle. So I started to improve my sleep and my diet. My diet before was basically pretty shit. I knew nothing about dieting, so a lot of carbs, a lot of fats, and very little protein. But then, as I started to research more, I started to learn the importance of protein. So I started to increase it. I was buying some whey protein, getting some protein bars, and actually eating better, eating cleaner. And the same thing with sleep. My sleep before was shit. Like really shit. I was going to sleep at 6 a.m. People were like, it's the time I wake up now to work. And I was fucking going to sleep at that time. It was really crazy. Staying up the whole night, scrolling, masturbating, all the bad habits. And then I started going to the gym and I was like, okay, I want to make some gains. And so I was going to sleep every day at 9:20 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m. Every single day. A few days I would fail. I think during the weekends I would sleep a little bit later. But I started to get this consistency and this sleep improvement, which was huge compared to what I was doing before. By the way, sleep is essential. I consider it a foundational habit. If there is one thing you do, is sleep. And if you want to learn more about how to improve it and a bunch of other habits to actually improve your mental health, you can check out the link in the description. It's my full mental health course, and I'm genuinely so proud of it. I truly believe it can help you. And the reason I think I was able to be so consistent in these habits, it's because it wasn't really the first thing that got me progress in life. It was the first good thing I was doing for myself. And it was so important to me. Really, during these 6 months, basically this was the driving force behind my actions. Everything started to get better because of exercising, because of going to the gym, because of building some muscle. I was feeling proud of myself and grateful, and I was progressing. And these are so important for your mental health. And I say this in every single video because I need to drill this into your mind. Progress, gratitude, changing your life, having actions that will improve your future. This is the key for better mental health. If in a 6 months' time you are in a better position you are now because you just locked in and you did good habits, you'll be happier. You'll be more grateful. You'll have better mental health. No questions asked. At that time, I also started meditating every single morning, which helped with my anxiety and my focus. It allowed me to study better. And also, I just started reading books. So the first book I read was Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it's a great book. And really, I recommend this book to you if you want to start reading. Because it's this idea of having a learning mindset. You want to learn and keep learning, and failures aren't necessarily a bad thing, and most failures are actually a good thing because they teach you something. And this was a great book, and I'm really glad it just started basically my reading habit, which is really important as well, because you need to understand something. There are two types of habits, and they are all tied to the idea of progression. There are habits that feel really good now, but in the future, they'll make you worse, basically. So instead of progressing, you're going down. And there are other habits that don't feel so good now, but in the future, you'll be much higher up. So it's progression. And the idea is doing these habits. Reading is a habit that now changes nothing. It's fucking hard to read. But in 6 months, if you read 5 books and you've applied the knowledge of these 5 books, you're smarter, you'll have progressed in life, and you'll be prouder and happier of yourself. So the idea is that we want to reduce the amount of habits that are good now but are worse later, and increase the amount of habits that are worse now but good later. Okay. At this time, I also started setting goals, and this is really, really important, right? So I used to have literally a sheet of paper with my goals, short-term and long-term, in my door of my room. So basically every single day I was looking at it, and I was, getting immersed in these goals. And the good thing about it is I really actually liked the idea of having short-term and long-term goals. It's because you have direction in your life. And you can actually measure progression. If you have a long-term goal of, let's say, bulking up, so gaining muscle mass to 70 kilograms and you're at 60 kilograms. You can have short-term goals, which will be get to 61 kilograms, 62 kilograms, and so on and so forth. You can have short-term goals of like go to the gym 5 times a week for 4 weeks. Eat 150 grams of protein every single day. And as you do these and you check the little boxes, you'll be progressing, and this just makes progression so much more tangible. And the gym is something that is actually very visual. You see yourself getting bigger and stronger. But for other habits that you can't really see, setting these short-term and long-term goals is essential to actually measure your progression, right? So let's say with cardio, with running, it's something like you can lose weight, yes, but improving your cardio doesn't show. But having these short-term goals of, doing 3 runs for 5 weeks, and if you measure your resting heart rate, seeing it decrease, all of these are ways to reward the process and to measure progression. Because as you see progression, you inevitably feel happier and grateful for your past self. As you check the little boxes on your goals, you look back and you just can't not be happy. It's impossible to not be happy if you have a sheet of paper and you've checked every single goal you had. And to get these goals, you need to just lock in. But to actually achieve the goals, doing these good habits that we talked about, that makes you better in the long term, and reducing these will just allow you to supercharge your results and training your discipline as well. So I have an entire video about training your discipline. But basically the key lesson is that you need to train it like a muscle, right? So start making your bed in the morning. Start doing small exercises that require discipline, but that are doable. And one of these things is actually cold showers. And it's also a habit that I started to do around that time. Now, I was doing it after going to the gym, which isn't a good idea. Basically, for hypertrophy, cold showers are bad. If you take cold showers after lifting, you are basically leaving gains at the table. You aren't growing as much as you could. But the idea was thinking, in cold showers will, in the short term, actually make you happier. It's really weird. Getting into cold showers feels like shit. It really feels like shit. It's really hard to get into the cold water. But once you get in and once you leave, you have this new vision of life. It's something really, really, it's honestly weird. And so I think you need to try that out, because not only will you build discipline, you'll also feel happier. And it's actually really good to do, let's say after you go for a run, you're feeling hot and sweaty, you get a cold shower. It's really amazing. And it can really improve your happiness in the short term, because you also feel proud, right? If you take a cold shower, even though you didn't want to, you feel proud and grateful. So this is really, really important. If you want something to, in the short term, make you happier and proud, cold showers, they are the way to go. Another thing that I really think helped improve my mental health was that I was learning a skill. In this case, I was learning the piano, I was learning to play. And I really do think doing a specific skill that is meaningful to you can help with your mental health. Mainly, again, because of progression, because you can progress in that thing. So if you have an instrument, if you have a skill, it can be anything. It can be martial arts. It can be, I'm out of ideas, but any skill that you can train, that you will see progression, is a great idea to actually improve your mental health. And I really like music. I always liked music and instruments, so I play a bunch of instruments. I play the piano, I play the bass, I play the drums, I play the saxophone. And when you start learning these things, you get a lot of gains. So there is a concept called noob gains, and this is generally attached to working out at the gym. Basically, the first few years that you work out, you get a lot of gains, and the effort you really need is very low. And as the year passes, basically you get less and less gains, and you need more and more effort to get them. But I think this really applies to most things. If you try learning an instrument, the first 10 hours you learn it, you'll make so much progress. But then during the next 90 hours until the 100th hour, you'll make progress, but not as much, and you need more work. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to improve your mental health, learning a skill like an instrument, like boxing, like martial arts, can be a great way to introduce more progression in your life. And the idea is, if every single aspect of your day is filled with progression, like, holy shit, this is amazing. Not only for your mental health, which is what we're focusing on, but for your life in general. If in 3 months you've progressed every single day, wow, you'll be so much further ahead in life. So this is really powerful. Another thing I was doing is spending time in nature and sunlight. This is really important because this really helps with your mental health. Walking, right, actually increases your dopamine and is a pleasurable activity, right? This is basically the wiring of our brains. But walking actually increases your dopamine, and walking in nature, seeing nature, actually makes you feel happier, calmer, less anxious. And what I was doing is I was getting sunlight. I was spending time in nature. I had a little park close to my house, and I used to go there. I used to climb trees. I used to do some pull-ups, and it was really a fun time. I was doing whatever in the fucking pull-up bar. I have really fond memories of these times because this time in nature is so pure in a way. And even in the beginning, the first 3 months where I was still improving my mental health, right, it was still a little bit bad. I still look at these times in nature as good times. Like, I can't think of a time I was in nature and it was a bad time. I look back at it very fondly, going up trees and just being basically a kid. And this playfulness is really, really good. This is basically outside of the idea of progression, but it's really a way that you can introduce something that will improve your life right now in the short term and will make the progress better. And so if you're trying to get into exercising and you don't want to go to the gym, you maybe doing calisthenics at a park or somewhere there's nature around can be a great idea to improve your mental health and actually start exercising. What I also did during this time is I started to reduce social media. And this is really important because social media is one of these habits that we talked about. The habits that feel good now, but that are worse later. Social media, as well as many other addictions, such as pornography, such as alcohol, such as junk food, such as smoking, such as drugs, all of them will give you an abnormal amount of dopamine. Your dopamine will spike very, very high up. And this is a problem because your brain isn't used to having this amount of dopamine. So we will literally change to have a same baseline level. So basically, dopamine is this neurotransmitter that will bind to receptors. And your brain will start decreasing the amount and the sensitivity of receptors to actually keep this lower level of dopamine. But now, regular things will give you even lower dopamine. And you need to do more and more of these bad habits to be even at a normal level of dopamine. So trying and actively, trying to reduce social media is really important, and it's a really essential habit and way to live. So it's called dopamine detoxing, which is trying to reduce this artificial amount of dopamine you get from scrolling, you get from pornography. Because then your work, the good habits will feel better. I also started journaling. So I used to have a little journal, I had a pen, and I would just write. So at the start, I used to have questions. So, for example, what do I like doing? What do I want to improve in life? What's my purpose? What are the habits holding me back? And I used to journal to get to know myself. And slowly, I actually started journaling without prompts and without questions, just about things I was thinking and ideas I had. And this is really important. If you think of Leonardo da Vinci, he was like a great man and inventor. He used to keep a bunch of journals. And I really think this is a really important habit to get to know yourself. Again, journaling won't give you that sense of progression, right? You will progress in journaling. It's not basically a skill you can really see tangible results on, but it will improve your peace of mind and your clarity, and just decrease depression and anxiety. Sometimes when I have this really bad feeling inside of me, so something happened at school or somewhere, and I'm like, I'm thinking, like, basically in loops, and I have this lower energy and lower state. Just writing it in my journal just clears it off my mind. It's something really, really crazy. So if there's something really happening and you can't get it off your mind, just try journaling. Journal as much as you can. Write everything you can about it. And I also started gratitude journaling. And this is an This is an essential habit. I talked about it in a bunch of videos already, because progression will give you gratitude for your past self. But gratitude journaling will give you gratitude about your whole life and the world in general. And this is huge, right? So gratitude journaling, I used to write like 3 things I was grateful for every single day, either myself for doing X habit or the world. So I'm grateful for this book, for this pen, for whatever I had, for the bed I'm sleeping in, for my mom, for my dad, for my brother, and things I could be grateful for in my life. And this is also huge to improve your gratitude and improve your mental health. This was the exact habits I did to go from depressed and anxious to actually enjoying my life and achieving my goals. I really hope this has helped you.